Jen Psaki is grilled by the press on the crisis that is happening at the U.S.-Mexico border. Joe Biden wants to issue an assault weapons ban. Illinois is issuing reparations. And Marco Rubio is saying there's UFOs. And I have a lot to say about that. Before we get into our lead story today, I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you to all those that have subscribed to my channel. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help the YouTube algorithm on getting my videos as well as my channel out there to others who have not seen my video or my channel. And also, we're all being deplatformed as conservatives and censored, so I hope that this video gets pushed out to those and gets a broader audience so that everybody has an opportunity to hear conservative ideas and a conservative narrative. Also, be sure to hit that bell button so you are notified whenever we upload a video or go live. We upload every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our lead story of the day is regarding Jen Psaki. This comes from our friends over at the Daily Wire. If you're not already a subscriber, please go over and become a member today. They title it, "Psaki Pressed on Biden Putting Migrants in Hotels While National Guard Slept in D.C. Parking Garages." While White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was reportedly pressed multiple times during Monday's press conference about President Joe Biden's border crisis, including on why the administration is spending taxpayer money to put migrants in hotels while the National Guard troops were forced to sleep in Washington, D.C. parking garages earlier this year. And let's see what Jen Psaki has to say about that.
So also you are opening up new facilities. One of the options that's being reported over the weekend is spending $86 million on hotel rooms for some migrants and feeding them. How do you square that with the National Guard troops who were sleeping in parking garages and, some of them got sick from having contaminated food? That's a disparity a lot of people are pointing out, that our National Guard was treated one way and then illegal immigrants are going to be put in hotel rooms.
Well, first let me say that at the time when we became aware of the conditions National Guard troops were in parking garages, as you noted, the president called the head of the National Guard that day and offered his assistance, offered to play any role that he could play, boosting morale, asking for more aid, making sure they had the right, were treated in the way that they deserved for the incredible role they've played.
Let's be honest, the Democrats love treating illegal immigrants better than their own American citizens. Case in point, putting the National Guard in parking garages and then paying $86 million in hotel fees to illegal immigrants, people that aren't even a part of this country, people who aren't paying into the tax system, having the taxpayers pay for new facility, room, board, clothing, water, food, education services, legal fees. We're having to support everything here because you guys don't want to handle the border crisis. You want to treat illegal immigrants better than your own American citizens. And again, this is a case in point. I love how she goes, oh, well, Joe called him once he found out. Hello? Who is this? Jen, who is this? What do you guys need? Right? Like Joe Biden's going to handle it. You think Joe Biden can take care of our National Guard? The guy can't handle anything. He can't even tie his own shoes. He doesn't know his name. He doesn't know his own Secretary General's name. I'm sure he forgets Jen Psaki's name at times. The dude ain't going to handle anything. And again, the Democrats just love spending taxpayer money on those that aren't actually paying their taxes into the system. And they're not ashamed of what they did to the National Guard. They're just pretending like they cared because it looks bad on them. They're always pretending like they care about things. They don't care about all this stuff because if they did, they would fix it. Case in point, what's happening at the U.S.-Mexico border. And thankfully, you finally have a reporter, Peter Doocy, and hopefully I'm saying his last name right, of Fox News, grilling Jen Psaki here on what's going on at the U.S.-Mexico border. Let's have a look.
The majority of people are turned away, and we are, as we're talking about children here, and with children, our focus is on expediting the processing at the border and ensuring they can get to shelters as quickly as possible. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you, Jen. So now that Border Patrol agents in the Rio Grande Valley are letting adult migrants go without even issuing notices to appear, is the Biden immigration policy just becoming more of like the honor system?
That is an inaccurate depiction of what's happening at the border. So there's no change in policy. The border remains closed.
Sorry. Guys, I haven't seen this before, so you're getting a real-time reaction. I don't know how far we're into this thing, and the bullshit's already coming out. And is anybody really going to believe that the border's closed when you have over 600,000 immigrants coming in 4 months alone? You have almost 30,000 unaccompanied children crossing the border in just a couple months, but you're going to say that it's closed with a straight face? Come on. Oh, God, I'm not going to make it through this whole thing. There's no way.
Families and single adults are being expelled under Title 42 and should not attempt to cross illegally. In the narrow circumstances in which families can't be expelled, the family is tested and quarantined as needed and placed in immigration proceedings to commence. In some cases, families are placed in removal proceedings further along in the release process. So if families are going to be deported and they're awaiting deportation, they don't need a court date. And they don't need a notice to appear because it has already been determined that they will be sent back to their home countries. Sometimes that takes a minute to ensure there is proper transportation and steps in place to do that.
And sometimes we just put them out the back door without court hearings and just let them roam free in our country without saying anything. You know, that happens too. And that's exactly what he's bringing up, is that it's just good faith. Hey, you guys are going to come back, right? Right? You're going to come back? Yeah. Whatever you say, Jen. God. I've always said it. She's just really bad at her job. And I'm sure like on a one-to-one kind of confrontation with her, she's probably really sweet behind closed doors. And she comes off kind of even sweet now. She kind of talks down to you in the press a little bit. But gosh, she's just really bad at her job. One of the worst people I've seen BS others straight to their face.
In place to do that.
But if Secretary Mayorkas says the border is secure, the border is closed, how is that the case if these migrants are being processed on this side of the border and then put on a bus to points unknown on this side of the border?
Well, again, there are limited cases where there are families, because they can't be held in Mexico, who are processed, tested, considered at the border.
This is, I comment it all the time, and this is why Jen Psaki's so bad at her job. She has no clue on how to answer these questions. This, that, and that. That's how you know somebody's lying. Again, I emphasize it all the time. They start stuttering. They don't know how to formulate sentences. They don't know where they're going to go with their answer. And so in real time, they're trying to process all this information. Whereas if somebody's telling the truth, they're just kind of going off the cuff really quick. Hey, this is what's going on. This is why it's happening. And they know where they're going in their answer. She doesn't have a clue what's happening right now. She's just smiling going, yeah, well, we're processing them here and we're meeting guidelines for whatever they need. Oh man, does anybody laugh that as hard as I do at this stuff? God, this is good stuff. I mean, and we're getting it for free, folks. We don't have to pay for this. This is too good.
Most of them are sent back to their home countries. Those are very limited cases, and it's certainly not a depiction of the overarching policy.
Okay, 2 years ago, President Biden said, we're a nation that says you want to flee and you're fleeing opposition, you should come. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. Now he says, I can say quite clearly, don't come over. So why was his position different campaigning than it is governing?
Well, I think that sometimes there's language that is used by some that is not complete.
Well, sometimes there's language that is used by some. Sometimes people bullshit, and that's what I'm doing right now. That's what Joe Biden was doing, and that's what Obama was doing. And I want to talk like Obama. So the sanctuary cities are there for all, and we need to change it. Bad Obama impression, but God, dude, it's just like, come on, man. Come on. This is, some people just like to bullshit, and we're bullshitting you to your face, and you're taking it all in.
Including the full context of his comments. I will say that he still believes that he wants our country to be a place where there is asylum processing at the border, where people are considered and go through a proper process, who are fleeing prosecution, who should be considered for immigration status.
I like to point out the vast majority, well over 90% of these migrants that are coming in are trying to seek asylum. They're nowhere even near meeting asylum standards. And so I love how she points out that the small cases that Peter Doocy is talking about of them just kind of basically doing catch and release, kind of putting them, the illegal immigrants into our country kind of without batting an eye about it. I love how she spots that, like, well, that's kind of an outlier, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. We're all kind of only doing that in some cases. And you have her here talking about the same thing and just the double hypocrisy, or should I say the double standard going on just in just a few minutes here.
That is a process that is broken. It was broken by the last administration, and he wants to put in place a process through an immigration bill, through steps taken by our Department of Homeland Security and HHS to improve that process and make it safe, efficient, and effective. We're going to need some time to do that.
And the president says, he told us yesterday, I know what's going on in these facilities. You say that he's been briefed with photos from
Multiple
the inside.
times.
Multiple times.
He's been briefed multiple times about immigration, and often has a number of regular sets of.
He's been briefed multiple times on the photos. Truth comes out first, folks. You know the guy's seen photos. Come on, you've known he's had to have asked, hey, what's going on here? Can we make sure to bring in the press in conditions that are sustainable to these children, meaning it doesn't look bad? There's enough room for everybody. You know the man's seen pictures of this stuff. Come on. And she just got caught saying yes, and then she realized, oh crap, I shouldn't have said that. So well, you know, this and this and this. Got him.
Questions for his teams.
So what is his concern about this being a super spreader event where you've got 400 kids stuffed into a pod built for 260?
These kids are tested. If they need to be quarantined, they are quarantined.
These kids are tested? Oh shit, I don't know what to say. You have 400 kids in a pod built for 260. There's no answer you can say to that. There's nothing you can do. And it's constant, man. He's killing her. He's taking a deuce on her. Peter Doocy is taking a deuce on Jen Psaki right now.
Also follow CDC guidelines to ensure that they are kept safe. One of the reasons that it took us some time to have some of these facilities or some of the shelters open to larger.
It took some of the time to cram 400 kids into a pod. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to stuff these darn kids when they don't fit, Peter. You wouldn't understand it because you haven't been down there. We're not letting you in. So you wouldn't get how hard, how damn difficult it is to shove kids into a pod that only holds 260. We all call Joe Biden a miracle for curing COVID. You should have saw his miracle working on stuffing over 400 kids into a pod that only holds 260. You wouldn't believe it, Peter. But when we get you guys down there, look at this stuff in real time. You'll be amazed.
Groups of kids is because we wanted to follow those CDC guidelines. So we certainly don't see it through that prism. We actually took the steps we did to keep these kids safe.
But where else in the country would it be okay to have 400 people in a space for 260 during the pandemic?
I'm so sorry. I know I keep pausing it, but her face in real time. Go back and look at it. Her just going, oh shit, all over her face. I know I keep cussing a lot and I apologize, but this is one of the best videos I've seen in a while. Her face just going, oh crap, I don't even know what to do right now.
Well, again, Peter, we're closely following the CDC guidelines. That's why we're opening up additional facilities, why they've been at limited capacity in a number of these shelters.
But if I may, I don't know that there are CDC guidelines that say you can be open.
Are you talking about the shelters or are you talking about the Border Patrol?
Border Patrol facility.
Apologies, I was misunderstanding your question.
Yes.
Look, I think our objective is to move. This is one of the reasons this is such a focus every single day for the president and this administration. We want to move these kids as quickly as possible through these facilities and into the shelters where they...
No, they don't. No, they don't. It just came out the other day that you had almost 1,000 kids that are being held in these facilities almost at 10 days. They're only supposed to be held 72 hours, and you're holding about 1,000 migrant children for 10 days in these facilities. It's just... This lady doesn't have a clue on what's going on. And you know why she doesn't have a clue? Because Joe Biden doesn't have a clue, folks.
Where there is safe spacing, and then move them into homes where there is safe spacing. And we are concerned about the public health impact. That's why we're putting in place a number of policies to expedite these processes.
And how we're going to expedite that is just let them loose. That's what they're going to do if they haven't already done it. And that's what he kind of opened up with of, hey, it's just, are you just expecting them to come back and show up to their court date? Some of them are not even being issued a court date and just letting them go roaming free in our country. Oh, man.
At that first stop, it's just not happening. And that is part of the federal government that you guys are in charge of.
Well, again, I think I've outlined for you specifically even a number of steps that we have taken and we are taking to expedite processing at the border, to ensure we're expediting the timeline, because these Border Patrol facilities are not made for children. We want to move them in part because of COVID, in part because they're not places that have.
I love how she's saying we want to expedite this because of COVID, but yet he just told you have children that are in pods that are only supposed to be holding 200, 250 max, and you're putting 400 children inside these pods. So you can't just come out and say you're trying to meet CDC guidelines. You're not coming out trying to say that you care. You just also said that these facilities aren't built for children, but you're keeping them in facilities that aren't built for them. It's such a bleep show, man, on what is happening. And I miss Kayleigh McEnany. I miss Trump. I miss it, man. I really do.
The educational, the health resources, and other resources that we believe these children should have access to. That's where all of our focus is on, and why we're working to expedite things. We have a plan. We're implementing it, and we're confident we're going to be successful. We just have limited time, so I just want to go ahead.
I love that ending. We got limited time. Holy crap, I got to move on. Like I said, Peter Doocy of Fox News just took a fat deuce all over Jen Psaki. Oh, man. And I'm glad I waited to watch this because I heard it was good, but she just got ripped a new one by Fox News. But again, the Joe Biden administration has no idea how to handle this stuff. And if they truly did know how to handle it, it would have been handled already. It would have been fixed. It's not hard. You lock up the border, you actually close the border, or at least start increasing border construction, and then actually execute the laws that are put in place with immigration, hence the executive branch. Your job, Joe. You got hired to do a job and you ain't doing it. Why? Because you're having a little nap time, Joe. You're putting around, you don't know what's going on. You don't know. But, hey, all you could do is laugh at this stuff now. If you get pissed off over it, life's going to suck. But I don't know about all of you. Let me know in the comments. Do you find this stuff hilarious? Do you want me to do more reaction videos of Jen Psaki just acting like a knucklehead on the podium in front of everyone? Let me know. But I love it, man. This stuff is it's just too good. It's better than Comedy Central. And like I said, we don't have to pay for it. It's free. You just go online and watch this happen in real time. These are the best people we got to put forward. At least this is the best people the Democrats have to put forward. Joe Biden, who can't walk upstairs. He can only fall. He doesn't know his name. I keep repeating myself. I get it. But it's remarkable that this is the best the Democrats have to offer. It's crazy. But there you go. Joe Biden, Jen Psaki still don't have a clue on how to fix the U.S.-Mexico border crisis. Speaking of Joe Biden doing nutty things, we have Joe Biden trying to issue an assault weapons ban. This comes from our friends over at Blaze Media. It is written by Chris Pandolfo, and he titles it, President Biden Demands Assault Weapons Ban Following Colorado Mass Killing. Senator Cruz offers Democrats a chance to really do something. Before I get into this, I don't know what the Democrats mean by assault weapons. Does anybody know? Let me know in the comments if you know what the heck they're talking about. I know about weapons. I don't know what they're talking about, assault weapons. And I don't know why they're singling out these so-called assault weapons. They're constantly talking about the AR-15. Why would that stop mass shootings? What's stopping somebody from walking into a place with a handgun and firing it up? What's stopping somebody having multiple handguns? You don't even have to reload. You just stuff them everywhere, right? So I don't know what is all the craze on this AR-15 assault weapons ban. And also, it's kind of funny, right? Just less than 24 hours later from this mass shooting, you're all of a sudden now pushing weapons ban like this stuff wasn't queued up, ready to go. You got to love Democrats, man. Constantly trying to infringe on the rights of the taxpayer, of the U.S. citizen, constantly. They're always trying to do this. There's always some issue going along with weapons bans. And I'm not for it because I don't like when government's constantly dipping their foot into American citizens' lives. And it's incremental. You start with this, it's going to get bigger, it's going to get bigger, it's going to get bigger over time. Not now, maybe not in 50 years, maybe not in 100 years. But at some point, if it keeps squeezing on the American citizen regarding the Second Amendment, at some point there won't be any Second Amendment. And if there's no Second Amendment, there's no First Amendment. But he writes, President Joe Biden on Tuesday called for a national assault weapons ban in the wake of 2 violent mass shooting incidences over the past week, arguing for targeted legislation to crack down on felons purchasing firearms. But one Republican senator is offering legislation he says will actually stop violent criminals from getting their hands on firearms. On Monday, a gunman murdered 10 people at a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado, including a police officer who responded to the scene. Just 1 week earlier, a 21-year-old was arrested for multiple shootings at several massage parlors near Atlanta, Georgia, which left at least 8 people dead. Democrats have politicized these terrible crimes with demands for gun control. Well, let's see what Joe Biden has to say in regards to all of this.
While we're still waiting for more information regarding the shooter, his motive, the weapons he used, the guns, the magazines, the weapons, the modifications that apparently have taken place to those weapons that are involved here, I don't need to wait another minute, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save the lives in the future and to urge my colleagues in the House and Senate to act. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. I got that done when I was a senator. It passed. It was law for the longest time. And it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again. We can close the loopholes in our background check system, including the Charleston loophole. That's one of the best tools we have right now to prevent gun violence.
I love how he's talking about common sense gun legislation or common sense in regards to banning assault weapons, but doesn't ever define what an assault weapon is and how the common sense of all this would still stop more people from getting handguns or utilizing other firearms to conduct mass shootings. He doesn't explain all that, but guys, this is all common sense. He doesn't need a minute. He doesn't need an hour. He doesn't need a day to push this through. He just needs a split second to hop on TV and push the narrative that these mass shootings are happening all over the country. Look, we all agree this stuff is terrible, it's evil, and it's wrong, but you have Grassley and Cruz putting forward legislation that's going to target specifically violent criminals. It's going to target at felons. It's targeted at fugitives, targeted at those with serious mental disease to stop them from getting firearms, to put them in prison when they try to illegally buy guns. What happens in this committee after every mass shooting is Democrats propose taking away guns from law-abiding citizens because that's their political objective. But what they propose, not only does it not reduce crime, it makes it worse. The jurisdiction in this country with the strictest gun control have among the highest rates of crime and murder. When you disarm law-abiding citizens, you make them more likely to be victims. If you want to stop these murders, go after the murderers. And he's absolutely right. But we're going to see if Democrats respond here. We're going to see if they actually want that common sense legislation. We're going to see if they want it. They don't, because they've already tried to put this forward before. And what was the passing on this? 52-48, where only 9 Democrat senators joined Republicans in support of the bill previously in 2013. They're all talk, no walk. Very similar to how they handle everything else. They don't have a clue on how to do stuff. They're just out there to cater to illegal immigrants, felons, everybody else other than the taxpayer, other than law-abiding citizens, and those are the ones they want to hurt. And the proof's in the pudding, guys. They want to increase tax rates after just closing businesses down. They want to let illegals into the country and give them hotel rooms costing the taxpayer $86 million while keeping the National Guard in parking garages. And now here, they want to remove or at least restrict law-abiding citizens from possibly getting guns. I'm being very clear on that, possibly, because that's what I think it's going to lead to, whereas the felons are the ones that are going to get the guns regardless, and they're going to use them and do stupid crap like we're seeing in Colorado here, where they're doing these mass shootings. But again, it's only going to hurt us, those that actually follow the laws and regulations put in place, and it's only going to help those that don't follow the laws, don't follow the regulations that are put in place. But there you have it. Joe Biden automatically, less than 24 hours later, trying to issue an assault weapons ban following the Colorado mass killing. And our next news story also comes from our friends over at Blaze Media. They title it, Illinois City Becomes First in America to Approve Reparations Program for Black Residents. It starts off by saying a Chicago suburb has officially become the first city in America to offer reparations to Black residents. What are the details? The City Council of Evanston, Illinois, approved Monday the first part of its plan to make financial amends for its past racial transgressions. in an 8-1 vote, the city approved using $400,000 to provide black residents with $25,000 grants to help with ownership. How'd you come up with $25,000? Why did you decide? What was the calculation on this that the transgressions that these people faced before is only worth $25,000? Why not $1 million? Why not $5 million? Where is this calculation coming from? They can never tell you. They just want to throw money out there from the transgressions that others made in the past, but we have to pay for it today, even though we didn't do anything wrong. So it doesn't make sense. Look, everybody agrees racism is evil. It's one of the darkest pasts of America. But again, it's not right to have other people pay for other people's transgressions that happened in the past. But it goes on to say here, black residents who are eligible must have lived in or been a direct descendant of a black person who lived in Evanston between 1919 to 1969. Perfect. So you're just handing out $25,000 checks to anybody that wasn't even involved in these transgressions. And maybe there was an impact. Again, maybe there was an impact, but how again do you come up with $25,000 worth of transgressions? I don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows. They decide, hey, 25,000 sounds nice. That sounds pretty good, right? Yeah, let's give it 25,000, right? Let's throw it at them. It's just unbelievable. And I guarantee you it's Democrats that are approving this stuff. It has to be, because they love, like I mentioned earlier, they just love spending our money. It's not theirs. If somebody else is cutting the check, what does it matter? However, as the New York Times noted, the city does not have the authority to give direct payments to residents without leaving them with a tax burden. Under the housing program, grants are paid directly to banks or businesses, so they're not even getting the money. They're just giving it to somebody else. That's perfect. What a way to spend taxpayer money. Just give it to the banks or businesses. Perfect. The city of Evanston adopted its reparations plan, the commitment to end structural racism and achieve racial equality, because a $25,000 check is going to do it. A $25,000 check is just going to fix everything, isn't it? The city will pay for reparations using tax revenue collected from a 3% municipal tax on recreational marijuana. The city plans to distribute $10 million in reparations over 10 years. And they go on to say, surprisingly, the city's reparation plan, specifically the first phase of the program that targets homeowners, has been criticized as not going far enough. Them spending $10 million over 10 years is not far enough. Them giving $25,000 checks to people that supposedly actually are descendants of those that were under racism, under maybe slavery, under these transgressions, these policies, these inequities, all these things. $25,000 isn't enough. And they're even going as far to say, in fact, some critics claim what the city approved Monday is not really reparations at all. They're saying it's detrimental to the larger movement of reparations. And that's the problem. You can't calculate this stuff on an individual basis because there's no way to figure this stuff out. There's no way to calculate how much the transgressions that somebody had to deal with in the past is worth. You can't do it. And also, it's not right to have somebody again today pay for the injustices that those committed in the past. You can't calculate it. And if anything, that's actually stealing. As far as I'm aware, my family never owned slaves. As far as I'm aware, I'm not a racist. I'm not a sexist, bigot, homophobe, or any of those things. I didn't do anything wrong to these people. Is it sad what happened to them and their descendants? Yes. It's terrible what happened to them. But I didn't commit it, so I shouldn't have to pay for it. Nor should anybody else. It is very sad. And what you have to do is you have to, pull your bootstraps up and try to figure out how a way that you can climb out of it. I know people don't want to hear that. And that's probably an easy answer to a tougher problem that's at hand. But I don't see any way around it. I've seen Ben Shapiro have this discussion with people as well. But it really does come down to the individual. There's a lot of people that had to deal with really crappy things that happened to their descendants. Really bad things. But you can't just constantly look at, hey, look what happened to my descendants and look where I'm at now. I mean, a lot of this stuff happened 4, 5, 6 generations ago. You got to at some point look at it and go, look, if I'm not going to receive any help from anybody else, I'm going to have to figure it out for myself. And I know people don't want to hear that. I get it. Because it talks about the self. It talks about the individual. And it's easier to look at somebody else to blame for your problems. It's easier to blame the past than it is blaming maybe yourself right now. But there's no other way. At the end of the day, it really does come down to the individual to climb yourself out of a hole. Whether you dug that hole for yourself or somebody else dug that hole for you, you still got to climb out of it. Don't wait for other people to pay for reparations or have the government pay for stuff. You got to work hard. You got to grind, and you got to figure out a way to get out of the mess that either others created for you or you created yourself. I know people, again, don't want to hear that, but there's no other way around it. People should not have to pay for the injustices of the past that are living today. It's not right. It's evil. It's wrong. It's theft. And our last news story of the day is quite interesting. It is written by the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Shiver, and he titles it Marco Rubio. There are UFOs flying over U.S. military bases, and the government has no clue what they are. Now, I don't know if UFOs are real, the little green man, extraterrestrials, but I find all that stuff interesting and kind of fun to read up on and watch. I love watching Joe Rogan, and kind of anytime he's talking about aliens or paranormal or Bigfoot or something like that, I just find it interesting and fascinating. Again, I don't necessarily believe in it, but I find it fun. So Senator Rubio here is saying that on Monday there have been several instances in which unidentified aircraft have flown directly over U.S. military bases, and the government still has no clue what they were or who is operating them. And we've seen video of this stuff from the military where you have these crafts that are going kind of inverted, and then they're just taking off and going faster than we can record. There's also radar blips of this stuff going from like 80,000 feet to like 1 foot over sea level in the blink of a second. We don't have the capabilities of this. And mind you, fighter pilots have come out and talked about this, where they're saying we don't have this type of technology. We don't have this propulsion. There's no heat signature. There's no exhaust, nothing like that. So could this stuff be real? Yeah, I'm open-minded to it, but I'm sure that alien people are loving it. Like, I shouldn't laugh, but there's people, say that they're abductive. Could that be real? Yeah, I don't know, but I always think this stuff's fascinating. I would love to do kind of a show that's kind of off the cuff, that's talking about paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, stuff kind of like that Joe Rogan talks about on the weekends. If that's something you guys would find interesting or are interested in listening to, me maybe doing reactions and talking about it, let me know. And I'm more than happy to do maybe a Saturday on it or something like that. But here we have Marco Rubio talking about UFOs. He's not the only one. I believe they're given 180 days to release documents about extraterrestrials and what they have on the UFOs. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated on all of it. But that is all the news I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time here on The Bald Brad Show.